Hi, my name's Woodhouse. I'm a physical performance coach at Wasps. I look after the strength and power element of the programme. We're into week 4 now of pre-season, so the players are very, very tired, generally hate the staff, and looking forward to a break. The area that I'm responsible for primarily is targeted towards improving essentially hip power output. That's kind of our total outward objective that we're trying to achieve with the players, because we know that that's very clearly linked to rugby performance in terms of carrying, winning collisions, changing direction, beating defenders, all those key things that we want to try and influence, and it's something that we can control and change. So the focus of a lot of our speed work, our preparatory work before we do some of our pitch sessions, the weights programs, the strength and power programs that we carry out in the gym here are primarily geared towards improving that particular physical characteristic. So today the guys did a primarily lower limb weight training session. The main focus of that, like I said before, was around hip power, essentially hip and leg extension power. So the strength of the quadriceps, the strength of the glutes, and the hamstrings, and all the key muscles that propel our body forwards. They started with a main exercise, which would have been a squat or a belt squat or a trap bar deadlift, something where they use 2 legs on the floor and push as hard as they can, essentially. And the reason for that is essentially just trying to increase the amount of force that their bodies can tolerate, and also improve the tissue capability so that they can apply high forces throughout range. And we know that this type of work is improving their capacity to avoid injuries, because their tissue will be robust and able to deal with the high forces that rugby brings. The second exercise that the guys do is an isolated hip exercise. Again, we want to improve hip power, and something that underpins that is essentially having a big bottom. So we're trying to increase the size and the strength of the glute muscles. So this exercise is targeted about getting the glutes to undergo a big load and improve their mass and their force generating capacity. So the third exercise that the guys carry out today is a single leg strength exercise. So what we're trying to do with this exercise is to challenge the stability of the leg and the body in general, whilst applying high levels of force. So we're taking the first 2 exercises and we're destabilizing them and challenging the player's ability to apply force, even though things are slightly unstable, which is typical of what you get in sport, because often you're operating on one leg or with random perturbances all over your body all the time. And so that might be an example of say a Bulgarian squat, or a single leg squat, or a lateral landmine squat, or something like that, which creates a little bit of instability, but also still applies a high level of force production through range for the leg and the hip. So the final exercise that the guys carry out would be an exercise which again brings all of those elements together. So it will be a high force, high power exercise with a lot of instability, and it will be slightly more specific to the movements that they carry out in the game. So for example, the forwards would have done an explosive prowler push with a band wrapped around the hip, which would require them to drop the hips, use the hips to extend, but it's in a forward direction, which is more specific to the sport. And the backs would have carried out a run rocket march, which again would have simulated running or powerful stepping, and those exercises would always be paired with a more functional exercise where we use pads, and we challenge the guy's ability to carry the ball forwards but also maintain balance in the carry.